Of e-tolling tomorrow on Gauteng's freeways, and they're looming large now at 12 o'clock this evening. Justice Project South Africa says it is worried about the lack of clarity being provided by the Department of Transport and Sanral. Justice Project South Africa has been inundated with queries from members of the public as well as from the media to provide clarity. Now, for more on the story, we joined in studio by Justice Project Chairman Howard Dembovsky. Howard, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
E-tolls are starting tonight. What kind of clarity do you need from the Department of Transport and Sanral at this late hour?
Well, we've asked the Department of Transport, Sanral, the Department of Justice and the NPA to please provide us with clarity with respect to how people are going to be prosecuted for e-tolls. When we are asked a question of how people will be prosecuted for not paying tolls on other toll roads, we can give them a simple answer to that. However, when it comes to this monster called e-tolling, we can't give them a simple answer because there's been so much conjecture in the media that has originated primarily from Sanral itself and from the Department of Transport, and yet the NPA hasn't weighed in on this issue, nor has the Department of Justice. All people are being told is you're going to incur a criminal record and you're not going to be able to immigrate, like everybody in Gauteng wants to immigrate from South Africa. It's a preposterous way to be going forward. And in seeking this clarity from the various departments, we had our attorneys write to them and say, these are our questions, can you kindly answer? To which we got told to ask the journalists, and which was probably the most childish and preposterous response you could possibly have. But then they didn't rest at that. They went further to say if we were to approach the High Court for clarity on this matter, then they would seek a cost order against us. So not only are they telling us we don't think you're asking valid questions, but they, in addition to that, are threatening us. Now, quite frankly, I don't think that any judge in his or her right mind would grant a cost order against us for simply asking a very fundamental question. How and when are people going to be prosecuted for allegedly not paying e-tolls?
So you're being threatened for asking a question.
That's exactly what it comes down to. At the end of the day, look, this is nothing unusual emanating out of Sanral. Let's be very frank about it. They've had this offhanded, dismissive type of attitude from day one when it comes to e-tolling. But the fact is, we have it in writing. We've sent that letter to all in sundry because this is a preposterous way to be coming forward. We would not expect a professional law firm like Werksmans to come and give us an answer like that to a very simple set of questions requiring simple answers. If you don't know how you're going to prosecute them, then why don't you just come forward and say so?
So now, we said earlier, e-tolls are starting tonight at 12 o'clock. What is your next step? Are you seeking an urgent court interdict, or what are you looking for?
Essentially, we're reasonable people, so what we've done is we've asked our attorneys to please write back to Sanral's attorneys and government's attorneys and ask them to please come back with a sensible, intelligible answer to our questions. If they fail to do that, then we will have to consider going to the High Court, because clearly these people do not want to answer these questions. They seem to have this fascist type of attitude of we have laws in this country, and if you don't obey them, we will hammer you. Well, last time I looked, we weren't really living in a police state just yet. But if this is the kind of behavior that's going to be emanating from these entities, well, we'll probably have no choice but to approach the High Court.
Now, your organization says since the announcement of the commencement of the implementation of e-tolls, there have been several disturbing reports. What other reports are there that's disturbing?
Well, for example, Minister Peters, as recently as last week Sunday, turned around and said if you don't have an e-tag and you don't register with Sanral, you'll face the full might of the law. Well, there is no requirement for you to purchase an e-tag, and there is no requirement for you to register with Sanral. So at the end of the day, how can we be threatening people with the full might of the law when it's not contained in the law? That's the first question. Secondly, there have been statements issued by Sanral with respect to how these are going to be prosecuted, whether they're going to be prosecuted under ARTO, which exists in the jurisdictions of the JMPD and the TMPD. Then they've said, no, it's going to be the Criminal Procedure Act and you're going to get a criminal record. Well, what gives them the right to take this matter out of the ARTO Act and put it all by its own under the Criminal Procedure Act just so that they can threaten you with a criminal record?
So that's illegal?
Well, the court's going to have to tell us whether it is or isn't. You know, at the end of the day, there are road traffic offences under the ARTO Act, specifically dealing with non-payment of tolls. That's why I said to you right in the beginning, if you ask us the question, how will you be prosecuted for not paying a toll? We can tell you. How will you be prosecuted for not paying an e-toll? We can't tell you. We've had this story coming out of Sanral that you'll be given 7 days grace period to pay. If you don't pay within 7 days, you'll be handed over to the violations centre. Then debt collectors will start phoning you at 11 o'clock at night, etc., threatening you with all sorts of dire consequences. And only then will it be handed over to the Criminal Procedure Act so you can be locked up and be criminalised for your act. You know,
so the process is not clear?
No, it's not clear. It's as clear as mud, to be very honest with you, and not even Nazir Ali seems to understand the process, since he himself has given conflicting stories. So has Vusimona. The fact is, why don't we just put it out there, state the facts? Let's not run away from this issue. If it is going to be a criminal offence not to pay for your e-tolls, then let's come out and say, these are the processes that are going to be followed. This is when they're going to be followed. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Are you a criminal only after you've refused to pay a debt collector? Or are you a criminal when you fail to pay the toll? And that question needs to be answered, because non-payment of debt was decriminalised in South Africa when our new government came into being. So what is this nonsense? Are we reverting back to the days of apartheid where you could go to jail for non-payment of a debt?
The toll is near, 12 o'clock. Have you bought your tag, and what advice would you give to motorists out there?
Well, absolutely not. I have not bought a tag. I don't believe that these laws were actually justly enacted. I don't believe that the correct procedures were followed. And quite frankly, I don't think I need to give motorists out there any advice. 735,000 e-tags, according to the Department of Transport and Sanral, have been sold thus far.
There's 2 million motorists.
That leaves another 1.7 million that haven't been sold. I think the motorists out there have spoken. And quite frankly, whether this increases by a few 100,000 more e-tags or not, only time's going to tell. But quite frankly, I think people are really, really tired of being threatened, number one, and number two, of having more and more and more taxes piled on us.
Where can people get more information?
There's lots of information out there on the internet. They can look at our website, www.jp-sa.org. Go and have a look at the Sanral e-tolling website, www.sanral.co.za, if you want to go and have a look at the misinformation that they're putting out there. Just one thing that people need to understand very clearly here. You've been told that if you do not have an e-tag and you don't register, you will pay almost double. That is an absolute lie that has emanated out of Sanral and the Department of Transport. The fact is that if you have a registered prepaid e-tag, you will pay 1/6 of the amount of a person who is not registered with Sanral. In other words, if you don't have a prepaid e-tag, you will pay 5.8 times the fee to go under that gantry. So not 30 cents a kilometre, ladies and gentlemen, R1.74 per kilometre.
So says Howard Dembovsky. He is the chairman of the Justice Project. Howard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.